You're listening to the Tigers Den podcast. New episodes dropping every Monday at 3:30 p.m. Central Time, available to stream across all platforms. Also, be sure to check out Play Callers. New episodes dropping every Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Central Time, available to stream across all platforms. Hello and welcome back, Tigers Den listeners. I know it's been a while. We took a little 2-week break, but don't worry, there's stuff going on behind the scenes. Good stuff. But we're going to go and get started with episode 10 of the Tigers Den. And boy, do we have a great show for y'all today. First off, Jim Harbaugh is getting absolutely just railroaded by the NCAA. Also, we have a Super Bowl rematch on Monday Night Football that's sure to get some buzz and sure to be a great game. All that and more today on the Tigers Den. But now, let's go ahead and get started with everybody's favorite segment, Reese's Weekend Rundown. Go ahead and take it away, Reese.
This is the Weekend Rundown.
I'm just gonna get
Not
it
my
started
favorite.
with this weekend was
And we're
the
back,
high
folks.
school.
We're back.
Yeah, this weekend was the high school football playoffs first round. We picked most of these games on Countdown. I think all these games on Countdown actually. I just want to get started with Dothan and Mary G. Montgomery. I was really surprised with Mary G. Montgomery winning this game because I know on Countdown, I think all of us picked Dothan to win this game.
Except for me.
Yeah, you were the only one. You're the only one that didn't pick them.
Mm.
And, it was kind of surprised. And I just want to shout out Taylor's picking Hoover to beat James Hoover beat James Clemens 42-16. That was kind of surprising to me to see that Hoover was able to win that big, especially at James Clemens. But,
That was Schubach career day.
Hey, they get Hewitt next week. That should be an interesting one.
That's an easy dub. Easy dub.
For Hoover?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We'll see. And then Enterprise blows out Daphne. That was kind of surprising to a lot of us. We thought Daphne was a decent team and might have played close with Enterprise, but, Enterprise just got the job done at home. And I'm looking forward to see what Enterprise can do. I think Enterprise, won't they play the winner of Auburn and Central?
They play Mary Montgomery next week.
Mary Montgomery next week?
Mary Montgomery, so.
Wow,
Should be an interesting one.
Yeah, that should be fun, especially considering Enterprise does score a lot. Looked like Mary G. Montgomery didn't score as much against that Dothan defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Bob Jones and Hewitt played. Hewitt won pretty big. Just going over the scoreboard, it just looks like a lot of blowouts happened. The closest games were Dothan and Mary G. Montgomery, and then Auburn and Baker were pretty close. But other than that, most of these games were just blowouts, and it just looked like the first round was a lot of teams. Like, Central didn't really play anybody. Like Davidson, we already knew that was going to happen with the blowout happening, especially at Central. But, next week, Auburn and Central should be a fun one. It's a rematch.
Biggest game in the state.
Yeah. And, there's other games next week that are notable as well. So, I can't wait to see the second round of the high school playoffs next week. We'll be in Central for the Auburn and Central game.
Yeah,
hoping to get a
Max and Reese will.
Yeah, Taylor's taking his
Oregon,
the
Ducks!
Mm-hmm.
The Ducks of Oregon!
Yeah, surprise.
No, that's unfortunate that Taylor's not coming, but he's got better things to do.
Reese didn't come this last week.
Yeah.
Tell him why, Reese?
Wait, what? Oh yeah, I had a concert to go to.
Hey Reese, you were getting into it, bro. I saw your mom's Facebook post.
Yes, I was getting into it.
There you go.
I met
Morgan Walden.
Jeff Francoeur there. A lot of baseball celebrities, and Jimmy Butler was there.
Wait, actually?
Yes, I'm not. You can go look on his Instagram.
Why was Jimmy Butler?
Bruh.
And then Matt.
Did he have
Olson,
the hair that he had on in media day?
No, he was sitting in the away dugout by himself. And then
That's so random.
Matt Olson was there. AJ Minter was there. A lot of famous people were at the concert, but yeah, got to meet Jeff Francoeur. Nice dude. He's in broadcasting like we are.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah. But now I'm going to move on to
Oh,
to what
Jimmy
is
Butler
going.
was there because they played the Hawks
Yeah,
on the 11th.
Gotcha.
yeah. And then now I'm gonna move on to the Michigan sign stealing allegations and Jim Harbaugh getting banned for the last 3 games of the season and including this past weekend. Did not coach the Penn State game. Um,
But Penn State is too poverty to even come close to beating them. So
yeah, and then we saw Michigan's interim head coach break down in tears at the end of the game, like, "We did this for you, coach."
This is
But
what I'll
no,
say. I mean, like the whole stuff with Jim Harbaugh, it's so stupid.
I
Honestly,
know
like
it's
it's so dumb. Like you say allegations. No, they were sign stealing, but so is almost every other. Not even almost, literally every other college football team in some form or fashion is
yeah,
quote unquote sign stealing, otherwise known as scouting.
yeah. And
So
then like what I don't get is like it's just one guy. It's not the whole team.
yeah, I know. I saw the
Just
video at like it was like what's it called? It was like the Central Michigan State game where like the
yeah,
guy was like he like ducked under or whatever.
yeah. Just like I mean, just punish that one guy, like, and don't punish a head coach who like that. That's gonna be the sad thing. Like Michigan's probably. In my opinion, I think Michigan has a chance to make it to the national championship,
100%.
possibly win it. And if that happens, I'm just afraid that they're going to be like, oh yeah, due to all this stuff, you guys get the national championship stripped of you. And then what's to say if J.J. McCarthy wins Heisman, if he's good enough to win Heisman? What's to say if they take that away from him as well?
Yeah.
And that would be bad. And we saw all the press conferences on Saturday, especially the Big Ten. The Michigan's president was very irate about what the Big Ten did, and I don't think the Big Ten has any say in this at all. I think
No,
it should.
yeah. It's
I think it.
100% the NCAA. So
Yeah, I think it's the NCAA, and Jim Harbaugh's probably. I don't know if he'll go back to the NFL after all this stuff happens. If they just decide to suspend him for a year or something. I hope that doesn't happen because I mean Jim Harbaugh's a good coach and he deserves he built this team. Like a few years ago, we heard all the rumors about him getting fired, and then all of a sudden he turned the team around and led them to Big Ten championships and led them to the college football playoff. And it looked like in the TCU game last year, it looked like they could have possibly won that. And if they would have played Georgia in the national championship, who knows how much closer of a national championship we would have seen last year.
yeah, all I'm gonna say is, I mean, people, fans of college football and all like college sports know that the NCAA is full of crap. You saw the stuff that they did with Jim Harbaugh earlier in the year, whenever it was like what they called Burger Gate, where they
Yeah,
fined him for giving a player a cheeseburger. You also saw the stuff with LSU defensive lineman Mason Smith, Tez Walker as well. With the transfer portal stuff. But it's a good thing that this current NCAA staff is going to be leaving in a couple of years or so, and
yeah.
so I mean, but yeah, it's just what else do we expect from this?
I
This,
mean, I want to go back on something Reese said about Michigan making the Natty.
Mhm.
Michigan looked rough without Jim Harbaugh. Like
That is true.
the offense, I know Blake Corum, one of the best running backs in the NCAA, like carried, but I mean Michigan just I knew they were like motivated. They just came out so sluggish, and really Penn State, if James Franklin wasn't the biggest idiot of all time in his coaching decisions, I mean Michigan could have easily lost the game.
Yeah. No, I remember seeing something because I watched that entire game because I had money on it. For some reason, I put it on Penn State.
Well, they threw the ball 8 times.
Yeah, they didn't throw it
That's
once in the
not
second half,
Michigan.
though.
That's
They
not
threw,
Michigan.
yeah, Michigan
Yeah.
threw it 8 times in the first half, never threw it again.
Yeah,
In the
no, and
second
I just feel like there's another thing the NCAA is doing now. Like they're investigating Lane Kiffin for kicking a defensive lineman off of his
I saw that.
his
I
team just
honestly think
because
Lane's
like
to the right. So
yeah, just because like he wouldn't talk to him or whatever. Just because
Honestly, I think Lane Kiffin is more in the wrong than Jim Harbaugh is.
yeah, no, well, see the only thing they can get on Lane Kiffin is him making fun of mentally ill people, saying
I know, but Lane Kiffin actually did that. Jim Harbaugh did not. was not the one that actually did what they did, and every team does it.
Yeah, no, and
Just
he
'cause
didn't
I
even
agree.
Michigan's the
I
favorite
agree with
this year.
that. I agree
he
with
didn't
that.
even know about that. That's the sad thing. Like he didn't
I
even
mean,
know about
neither,
it.
in my opinion, yeah, neither of the coaches are like completely in the wrong. But yeah, Jim Harbaugh's stuff is completely stupid. Lane Kiffin's, first of all, my thing is because I heard the audio bite where it was like him cussing out the players, saying, he kicked off the team, read your rights and stuff like that. First off, I would like to hear the entire audio clip, please, because that clip was like 30 seconds long when it was allegedly a 30-minute conversation. But also, when a player goes missing for 2 weeks and just doesn't respond like to the coach, I think that's on the player because especially when this player's getting NIL money and stuff like that. I mean, it's basically a job at this point. He needs to show up or at least respond to a text message. So I think Lane's in the right as well. But yeah, this is just more, NCAA stuff. And by the way, a $40 million lawsuit is insane. Like,
Yeah.
like nobody in my entire like family lineage or people I know have made that money that quickly, like in their entire lifetime. Like
No,
$40 million is insane.
it's just like in basketball, I like Duke, but I'm sorry, Duke does some stuff that's more illegal than what Harbaugh's doing, and so does Kansas, so does Kentucky, so does all the blue blood schools do it, and they don't do anything about it. They
Yeah,
just
but that's sports. I
yeah,
mean,
I mean
like
it's like
like you're not. It's not like we're like, come on now.
if we were talking about Georgia, this would be a different story. Kirby
Yeah,
Smart, Kirby Smart would not be banned for 3 games. Um, they wouldn't have him possibly getting fired or banning him from a season possibly or taking their national championship away if they won it.
yeah. But in my opinion, I mean, like, I can't remember the last one. I know there are some in recent years, but I can't remember the last NCAA ruling where it was like something that was completely out of line. Like in my opinion, all this stuff, should fly. Now,
Yeah,
obviously, there are certain parameters where if you do something, yes, you should receive punishment 100%. But like all this, stuff. Oh, he's sign stealing. Oh, the recruiting violations. It's like, come on, man. We know some schools are higher privileged than others, have more accessibility to certain things. Like, let's just play the game and get on with their day. That's my opinion. So
yeah. But now we're gonna move from talking about that, and then we're gonna talk about some of the action we saw on Saturday and Sunday with football. First, I just want to get started with Duke and UNC went into double overtime,
that was a
47 to
good
40,
game.
45. The only thing that got me in that game is why do you storm the field when you're 8-2?
I
Like
saw that.
you don't storm the field when you're 8-2 and beat a 6-3 Duke team who's probably going to end up going 6-6 because they don't have Riley Leonard for the rest of the year. But I don't get why you storm the field. But that's just a
I guess
UNC.
the only reason I could see is just because it's a rivalry, and it was a close game. But
Yeah,
I mean, it would be like if Auburn beat Alabama.
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, but the thing is, it's different. Like you're ranked, and there's really no sense of storming the field if
yeah,
you're ranked.
they were 100% like expected to win that game. Like
I
if
mean,
anything, like that game shouldn't have been as
I
close
mean,
as
it's
it
not as
was.
bad as Clemson storming the field after their homecoming game against Western Carolina.
Yeah, isn't that a tradition of theirs though?
Yeah,
No.
Clemson rushes the field like every single game.
Oh,
Yeah.
they do.
Well, I remember watching the Duke North Carolina game, and right after they missed the 2-point conversion, I saw they showed the fans and like the student section. They were like thinking about it, like storming the field and stuff, and then they started storming it. I think it's just because I feel like there's been the most like storm the fields, like I guess you'd say this year than any other year, and I think it's honestly becoming like a trend almost, But I don't know.
Yeah, but also another team I want to highlight. Number one, Ohio State keeps it rolling. They're one of many 10-0 teams that
Oh,
are
come
left.
on. They played Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan State's got problems themselves. 3-7, 1-6 in the Big Ten. Ohio State's schedule, the toughest game they got left is Michigan, and they'll probably end up beating them because
And
if
you
you don't
never
have a
that game's gonna be good. It's gonna be
yeah.
good.
And then, I actually thought Georgia and Ole Miss was going to be a good game, but Georgia just
Me too.
ran over Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss obviously showed us in that game that they just play good against the weaker SEC teams.
Ole
and
Miss showed us in that game that it's going to be Alabama and Georgia for the 15th time.
I hate
It's
the
Alabama and Georgia every single year, except for the
last.
exception when Auburn or LSU makes it.
Yep. Yeah, it's just Georgia. Carson Beck's not even that good, and Georgia
Bro,
shouldn't
okay,
Georgia shouldn't be 10-0.
okay, Reese. Carson Beck is good. We can stop hating on Georgia now. Carson Beck is a good
Yeah.
quarterback.
No, Georgia should not be 10-0.
I think Carson Beck. So first off, I did not know that Brock Bowers was playing that game.
I
had
didn't
no
either.
idea. Like I thought he was at least going to be gone until next week, the Tennessee game. But that was a surprise to me. But no, Reese, I don't think Carson Beck's bad, but I also don't think he's like Heisman standards by any means. I mean, you look at who he has around him. Lad McConkey, Brock Bowers, even Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett had really good games. Rosemary Jack Saint, who's been there like forever now. I mean, like he's got weapons around him. I don't think he's bad. I think he just knows how to do what he needs to do with what he has around him. So
Yeah, and then always love a good Florida State Miami game. It was close, like I thought it was going to be. I know they showed on game day before that game even happened. They showed all the rivalries between them, the fights that have broken out in those games,
yeah,
and it's always been close. Miami's won a lot. I think Miami's won a lot more than them in that series. That's kind of like the Auburn and Georgia matchup of the ACC.
Florida State came out winning this time, so that's all
Yeah,
that matters.
Florida State. I don't think has a. I don't think they have a tough opponent left on their schedule. I think they're going to end up.
And the ACC championship is going to be easy as crap because Louisville
They play
sucks.
Louisville. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like obviously they play North Alabama next week, like blowout. Like might as well start the bench warmers.
Please don't say they're going to beat Florida because Florida sucks.
I'm not saying they're going to beat Florida. I'm saying it's a rivalry game. Florida has nothing to lose.
Is it in the swamp?
It's in the swamp.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's going to be a good
saying.
one to pick next
That's
week.
what-
That's going to be a good one.
Stop
That's what I'm
hyping
saying.
them up.
No, Reese, listen. Graham Mertz has been able to play well at times, and Travis Etienne, Travis. I can't remember which Etienne.
Trevor.
Trevor Etienne has been able to play good at times, and their defense can show up sometimes in big moments. But I mean, that game. I mean, like I said, Florida has nothing to lose. I mean, they're just playing to win that game, and so I don't know. Florida State better be ready for that game. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
So.
and then Washington and Utah was pretty close for a little
The
bit.
frauds escape again. Washington is not good.
Isn't that the fourth week in a row that's happened?
Yes, they are not good. It makes me so mad.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly think, and I'll talk about this later, but I honestly think they could lose at Oregon State this upcoming week. Like with the
Beavers,
defense,
and I never say that because I'm a Ducks fan. Go Beavers.
Yeah, you look at their last couple of matchups; they haven't won a game by more than 10 points since week 4 against Cal.
Max, they only scored 15 on Arizona State.
Yeah, I know.
Barely won.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. I mean, they just keep winning, so it's hard to like mark them down. But I mean, yeah, their luck's gonna run out, and I honestly think it could be this upcoming weekend. But
yeah, we'll see because Oregon State did score a lot against Stanford, but that is Stanford.
I mean, Oregon State, Utah showed it. I mean, Oregon State's the team that's designed to beat Washington because they're a really like good defensive team that can sling the ball around sometimes. DJU is starting to get more comfortable as the season goes along. So I think Utah and obviously the last couple of opponents dating back to Oregon have shown that Washington has weak spots, and I feel like Oregon State could expose those.
Oregon just got unlucky to not beat Washington. It was just the kick. That was all it was.
Yeah, no, it was literally was that kick to win the game or to tie it?
Tie it. It would have if he would have. I think if he would have made it, Oregon would have won.
100%. I mean, we've already talked about Oregon led in every stat category in that game.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, and then Bo Nix keeps up his Heisman candidacy against USC. Caleb Williams just again fails to win a game.
I will admit I've slandered USC a lot this season. First off, I'd like to say, because I know Taylor wants me to hear me say it, congrats to Oregon, great game, phenomenal game. But for USC, I mean, like, I feel kind of bad for Caleb Williams. I mean, like, he's such a talented player, and obviously he's going to be a high draft pick. I mean, you look at his stats, like, 19 for 34, 291 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. I mean, and a rushing touchdown. I mean, like, I saw a play in the red zone where he was literally running around, circling around in the backfield for a solid, 8 seconds, and then was able to throw it to the end zone for a score. I mean, because his receivers wouldn't get open, his line wouldn't block, but he was able to create. But I just feel bad for him, as a player, because USC's. I hope they fire Lincoln Riley, honestly, because they got one more game on the schedule, and it's against UCLA. And I feel like if they lose that game, they have to fire Lincoln Riley. 7-5 at USC with a former Heisman quarterback. I mean, that's just unacceptable. If I was a USC fan, I would want him fired.
And then who would you hire, Jimbo Fisher?
Hell no. But well, I mean, it's just Lincoln Riley doesn't. I just don't get it because I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously we knew their defense wasn't going to get any better after firing, or not much better after firing their defensive coordinator Alex Grinch and bringing in an interim. I just think, I mean, there's potential there. Obviously, USC a big brand name, and the fact that they haven't even gotten close to making the playoffs ever since they became a thing, 10 or 11 some odd years ago. I mean, that's just insane to me. So I feel like, there needs to be a switch up. And, I mean, it was the same at Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma, obviously, they had, I would say, better talent whenever Lincoln Riley was there. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, all great quarterbacks, all Heismans. But he never was able to win the big games. So, I mean, and that's the same here. So
yeah. And then, Tennessee and Missouri played. Missouri blew them out. Tennessee, to me, just, same stuff as last year.
yeah. How about Missouri, though?
I know,
a year they're having.
Surprising us,
No.
They're 8-2, Taylor.
They're 8-2. I don't care. Missouri's not good.
I'm not. What? How can you? I mean, this. I disagree with some of your takes, but this one's just how? You look at Brady Cook, Cody Schrader. Yeah, their running back. I mean, now has 1,100 yards on the season. Had 300 yards in that game. I mean, this is a Missouri team that was close to beating Georgia last week.
No, Taylor, what makes you think that they're not good? Just explain.
Because Missouri would lose to any single team that's in the SEC West.
What?
That is true. Yeah. The only team that they won't lose to is Arkansas.
Exactly. They would lose. Max, they would lose to Auburn if they played Auburn right now.
I disagree. I have to disagree. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but Auburn right now is on the they're on a.
Auburn is on a no, and
No, they're not. Next game.
Okay, whatever you say, Taylor. But Missouri is a good team.
Missouri will finish 10. Missouri will finish 10-2 and probably maybe
100%.
make a New Year's Six bowl. We'll see.
No, they won't.
Okay, whatever you say, Taylor.
Missouri takes the L against Florida this upcoming week.
The next 2 games, I'm gonna highlight 2 fraudulent teams: Kansas and Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State. There's no way you get blown out by UCF.
Yeah. The Gus Bus.
Whose head coach is Gus Malzahn. Sorry, Gus.
Gus Bus rolls.
Yeah. That's
45-3 is kind of
45-3 is terrible. And then Kansas. I thought you guys were back, and then you guys just disappoint again.
I mean,
Texas Tech is not bad though. Texas Tech played Oregon really close at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas Tech and UCF play next week, so the meeting of
whoever wins that game.
No one cares. No one cares.
This guy.
Keep going.
Yeah, Oklahoma and West Virginia, terrible game. That was the one of the worst ones I've ever seen.
I don't know who thought that would be close.
I wanted Oklahoma to win or Oklahoma to lose. I wanted them to lose, but West Virginia just couldn't get it done.
Right.
Then LSU and Florida was close for a little bit, and then LSU just pulled away. You know,
Jaden Daniels is him. That's all I'm going to
yeah.
say. Next game.
And
My Heisman though.
by the way, Auburn got a commitment from Florida after this game because Florida's
Yeah.
about to start losing commitments because of the fact that they probably won't make a bowl game.
Yeah. I low-key think they might fire Billy Napier,
They
honestly.
need to because he's been like ever since that Utah game at the start of the year. It's been bad. Like they're really lucky, I think, to have 5 wins. Like the 5 wins they have are they're kind of little. They're not good teams.
Well, it's not even like they have a terrible team. It's just, yeah, like you said, I mean, I don't think.
LSU needs to fire their defensive coordinator though.
Oh, well, yeah, we've been
They-
known that.
yeah,
So.
and then
I mean,
Arizona.
This LSU team, I saw a stat the other day. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors are miles ahead of where Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase were stat-wise at this time of the season. So, I mean, and Jane Daniels has been playing insane. Like, 200-plus passing yards and 200-plus rushing yards is absolutely ridiculous. But, I mean, if they had somewhat of a defense, like, they would definitely be 9 or 10 wins right now. So
Yeah, and then Arizona escapes a win in Colorado. Colorado will probably not make a bowl game.
yeah. Oh no, they won't.
First year of Deion Sanders era, but it's kind of a win for them. Getting 4 wins on the year, maybe 5 wins. That's kind of a win for them, especially where they were last year, 1-11. But some things to work on next year. Especially after they had one of their players just decommit from them.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'll
Winston Watkins.
I'll
Mhm.
foreshadow one of my upcoming segments. Dion might not be at Colorado next year.
Okay.
And then finally, we see Iowa's offense score more than 10 points in a game.
Yeah.
Took them a while, but I heard though if they would have to average 25 points per game for their offensive coordinator to not get fired. So I think they're going to fire him at the end of the year.
I mean, that's another team. Whereas if they had somewhat of a competent offense, I mean, Iowa's a team that's possibly 9-10 wins because their defense is lights out.
Yeah.
They're
They
still
really
going to make the
have-
Big Ten championship, though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And then I still don't know how Tulane's in the AP poll or in the college football playoff poll at all. I don't know how you barely beat Tulsa, but yeah, that's another story for another day. But I'm gonna get to NFL now. Something interesting. The Texans and Bengals game was outstanding. CJ Stroud should win Rookie of the Year.
He's honestly in the MVP race. In my
No,
opinion.
he's not. No,
Yes,
he's
he is.
not.
Why is he not? Why is he not?
Bro, because the Texans are going to have nothing to play for. They're not even going to make the playoff, Max.
They're 5-4. Bro.
Okay, the Jaguars are in their division. The Jaguars are better.
The Jaguars just lost, so they're one game
Okay,
apart.
I don't care.
They
The
play
Jaguars are better.
2
CJ Stroud is not going to win the MVP, Max.
They win Rookie of the Year, but MVP he might finish like top 10 possibly.
Yeah, I think he'll finish in the voting.
100%. And then the Vikings. Joshua Dobbs keeps it up. Almost a comeback. I watched the end of that game to see if the Saints would come back, but didn't happen. Derek Carr and Michael Thomas, brick thrower, got injured. But yeah. And then the Steelers keep rolling 6-3 now after beating the Packers 23-19. Steelers, there's a chance that division, the AFC North, every team could make the playoffs. After what I saw from the Browns today, the Browns came back and ended up winning against the Ravens, which was a real shocker.
Yeah.
With that game-winning field goal. And then, like Max said, the Jaguars lost today. They lost 34-3. And then, Kyler Murray came back this week. He didn't do bad. He didn't do good. He was all right. Cardinals did get the win against the Falcons. I think the Falcons might fire Arthur Smith now.
Yeah, they should.
At least they used Bijan today, though.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that they did. Because all that. I don't even know what that was for anyway. For them not using him, it was just like I
I
guess
know
it
that really messed you up in fantasy, Reese. So
just yeah. Yeah, he finally got some points today. It doesn't even matter anymore. My season's over.
Yeah, because I'm beating you by 35.
Yeah, because I started Justin Fields and thought Justin Fields was going to play and forgot to change him.
That's your own fault.
Yep. And then the Lions keep it rolling, 7-2. Um, you know, Lions possibly. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking they might be the number one seed in the NFC or in the NFC side for the playoffs.
if only the Eagles weren't, didn't exist. So
I
I
know
mean,
the Eagles exist. I'm saying the Eagles might lose a game or something.
yeah, I'm just saying it's not going to happen. That's all I'm saying. So Lions are a good team. They're going to win their division, but
Oh yeah, for sure. Their division's poverty.
yeah.
But and then the Cowboys and Giants game was not fun at all. Like that was the worst game I've ever seen.
Whoever decided to make that America's Game of the Week, whatever the hell that means.
Is that what it was, or I thought it was the
Yeah,
Commanders?
they called it America's Game of the Week.
Bro, Fox,
I was like, what?
Fox has gotta stop with these games of the week.
The Giants were starting Tommy DeVito.
Like I thought Thursday night football was worse, but obviously it was game of the week.
Yeah.
And then the Seahawks won. What do you?
What just happened? Taylor, you good?
Bro, Max, check your text, bro.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Anyways, that Seahawks game was good. I mean, Sam Howell looked decent, but
Kenneth
feel
Walker
bad.
finally did something in fantasy, dude.
yeah,
I feel
know.
Finally.
I feel bad for the Commanders because they've had a lot of close games this year and they can't win them. They should be like 6-4 or 7-3, honestly, if they would win those close games.
100%. Anyways, is that it? Is there anything else, Reese, that happened this weekend?
No. What are you babbling about, Max?
I'm not babbling about anything. I'm good.
I can hear you laughing in the background.
No, I'm good.
No,
All right.
I think you're not good.
Nah, I'm great.
Next
I'm great,
segment.
man.
Do the
All
weekend
right.
rundown of Max's booty.
Okay, buddy. All right.
Okay.
Next segment.
What's the next segment, Max?
Let's see. I'm hearing the refs coming onto the field to blow the whistle. Blow the whistle, ref. It's time for the team huddle. Take it away, Taylor.
Huddle up, because it's time for Taylor's Team Huddle.
All right, so, after week 11, a lot of the conference races are getting a little close. Some teams have clinched. Some conferences are still up for grabs, such as the Pac-12, Big Ten, all those conferences. But one conference I want to highlight is actually the Big 12. So my team huddle this week is the Kansas State Wildcats. Hey, just listen for a second.
Yeah.
The Wildcats travel to the cross-state rival this weekend to play the Jayhawks. And this is a super important game, not just for Kansas State fans, but for Big 12, like all teams in the Big 12. You may be questioning why I'm doing this over a lot of other teams that may deserve it, but the Big 12 race is super close for that second championship spot in the Big 12 championship. There's a 4-way tie for second and a 3-way tie for third. And this Kansas State team has 2 of the biggest games of their season against 2 of those 4 tied for second place. Of course, Texas is at the top and will stay there, has already clinched the Big 12 championship. But we thought it'd be Texas-Oklahoma rematch, but since Oklahoma fell off the face of the earth, the Big 12 is wide open for the Wildcats. I mean, they only have 3 losses, and 2 of them were by 3 points, and then 1 was by 8 to Oklahoma State. And all 3 of their losses are 3 teams now ranked in the AP Top 25. I'm huge on the senior quarterback, Will Howard, with 21 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, and he's shown out all 4 years of college, and he has 3+ touchdowns in the past 4 games against great opponents. This team also looked amazing against Texas, almost knocking off that upset, only losing by 3. This defense is also ranked in the top 25 in almost every stat, and they're only allowing 20 points per game to an offensive conference in the Big 12. I know that the Wildcats, they're out of the playoffs, they're out of New Year's Six Bowl, they're not going to do any of that, but if they can rally and make this Big 12 championship after these 2 games, I mean, we could see a repeat of last year when they knocked off the heavy favorite TCU. Just make it the other Texas team with Quinn Ewers at quarterback. So they need to huddle up with their star coach, Chris Kleiman, and continue the streak of having the most victories against AP top 25 teams in the Big 12 the past 10 years. In the NCAA, excuse me. What are y'all's thoughts, and go Wildcats?
I don't think this is a bad shout out at all. I mean, like you said, the Kansas State team has looked great recently. I mean, they beat Baylor. They beat the brakes off of Baylor, 59-25 this past weekend. Obviously, Baylor's, not at all a great team this year by any means. But, I mean, huge win. And then, like you said, I mean, they're 3 possessions away from being undefeated, because you lose by 3 to Missouri off of a game-winning field goal. Then you lose by 8 to Oklahoma State. And then you lose by 3 to Texas. So, I mean, if the chips fell their way, this could be a team that's 100% in the playoff conversation. But, coming up, yeah, like you said, they go away to Kansas. I thought that game was going to be at Kansas State, but I was wrong. They go to Kansas. They go to Lawrence. But that should be a great game, 6 o'clock kickoff time. I think Kansas State should be favored in that game. I'm checking the spread right now. Kansas State is favored -7.5. I think that's a winnable game. Now I do think because they lost to, it's weird. So because like you said, the Big 12 is wide open right now, except for obviously Texas is going to make it to the Big 12, and if they win that championship game, possibly the playoff. But I mean, since they lost to Oklahoma State, it's weird because if they win out, they might need Oklahoma State to lose one game because they lost to Oklahoma State directly. Although Oklahoma also lost to Oklahoma State, but Oklahoma and Kansas State don't play at all. So this is one of the tough parts, like where you don't have divisions in your conference, to where you don't play some teams, then you end up tying. And Kansas State, I think after the conference and then the head-to-head, I think it just goes to overall. So, I mean, I could be wrong 100%, but yeah, like you said, Kansas State, I mean, early on in the season with that loss to Oklahoma State, I mean, not a lot of people, or that loss to Missouri, then the loss to Oklahoma State, a lot of people counted the Wildcats out, but they proved recently, that they should still be in it, and we'll see what happens. But Reese, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the take on Kansas State. I think Kansas State will be if they make the Big 12 championship, I think it's gonna be fun. We've seen them in the Big 12 championship before. Last year we saw them. They shocked TCU in the Big 12 championship.
And then TCU still made the playoff for some reason.
Yeah, that was odd. I don't know how they did, but yeah, that game last year was nice to see them play in it. I think if they get in it this year, it should be another fun one to watch them go against Texas. That should be fun to watch.
Who they almost beat. So.
Yeah, and if we see another rematch again, who knows? Kansas State could come out on top. They always show out in the Big 12 championship, seems like.
But yeah, no. Kansas State, they're a team that, like you said, Will Howard, I mean, they had a lot of hype coming into this year. It's not like this is a Kansas State team that's by any means, doesn't have talent. Like, they have a lot of talent. Will Howard, they return a lot of, defensive starters from that last year team. Obviously lost Deuce Vaughn, a couple wide receivers, but, I mean, this is a team that, like you said, can make some noise coming up in the upcoming weeks. Don't be surprised if they knock off Kansas and then go to the Big 12 championship.
But the huddle's over. The ref blew the whistle. Team's coming back onto the field. And I think it's actually Max's turn with the main matchup. Let's see what it is.
Get your popcorn ready. It's time for Max's main matchup.
All right, so for the main matchup today, like I said in the open, we've got this upcoming Monday Night Football, which obviously we record these Sunday night. So by that time, this game still wouldn't have been played. But I just got to talk about it. I mean, we won't be able to pick it, and I try to make this main
sorry.
I try to make this. No, you're good. I try to make this main matchup one of the ones that we don't do in Prize Picks, and so it's this one. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly run the numbers down for y'all going into this game. I mean, the Eagles will be 8-1 and 4-1 in away games. The Chiefs will be 7-2 and 4-1 when at home. Obviously, it's in Arrowhead. Currently, the Chiefs are favored -2.5 going into that game. Over under 47.5. But I mean, Arrowhead Stadium, one of the loudest stadiums. The fans there claim it to be the loudest stadium. But this is a game that has the potential to be one of the best games this year. Not only the regular season, but as the numbers stack up right now, it's also set to possibly be a rematch in the Super Bowl this year, just like it was last year. Now, we all remember how it went down last year. Kansas City drives down the field. They're down by, I think it was 1 or 2 points. They need a field goal to win the game. And throw it back corner to Juju Smith-Schuster, and not a catch, but a flag. And, so the Chiefs end up, getting set up nicely to kick the field goal, and they kick it, and then Jalen Hurts can't throw it more than 40 yards. So, I mean, Eagles aren't able to complete the Hail Mary, and the Chiefs win. Now, this Eagles team, if anything, in my opinion, they might be better than last year's team. And I'll tell you why. DeAndre Swift is a player that has stepped up huge for them. Last year they had Miles Sanders, obviously went to the Panthers, and we know how. Yeah, I was going to try and put it nicer than what Reese just said, but yeah, he hasn't had the greatest season this year. He's had a lot of injuries. That's been a common occurrence in his career.
They're all
but
safe.
I mean, you get DeAndre Swift, a player who at the beginning of this year wasn't even expected to start at running back for them. It was Kenneth Gainwell, but Kenneth Gainwell came out because of an injury. I think it was a Thursday night football game, and DeAndre Swift came in, had a great game. Then you got A.J. Brown as well. A.J. Brown's balling out, trying to catch up to Tyreek Hill. He's the number 1 receiver right now. But you also got Devontae Smith. Their defense as well is amazing. I mean, Jalen Carter was a steal. That was almost highway robbery what they got with, I think it was the 8th overall pick. I mean, Jalen Carter obviously had some off-the-field issues, but, I mean, he was obviously one of the most physically gifted players in that class, and he doesn't even start for him. He comes off the bench, but he still has great stats this year. Defensive line, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat, and Brandon Graham. I mean, Brandon Graham, is a guy that's been there for 15 years. He's an experienced guy, but he's still really good. Jordan Davis, obviously, just monster, huge. From Georgia, and they're nicknamed the Philadelphia Dogs because they have 5 starters that come from Georgia. So, I mean, this Eagles team's really good. And then you look at this Chiefs squad. I mean, and this Chiefs squad is, better than ever. They're playing their best football, and they got Taylor Swift on their side. I mean, ESPN loves them for that, and the refs love them as well. Yep. But anyways, enough of the controversial stuff. This team is actually really good. They got the usuals, though. Not many changes. Got Patty Mahomes, got Isaiah Pacheco, who's really, come up strong in these recent weeks. Travis Kelce as well. And then they also, I want to shout out because, their receiving core has been one of the big things that has been bashed this year. And I'm not going to lie, it, obviously isn't great. But they've had, certain young guys, and some veteran guys who have been riding the bench for a while.
Rashee Rice.
Yes. You stole the words out of my mouth. Rashee Rice, the draft pick from this year's class, the rookie, 4 touchdowns, same as Travis Kelce, just a little bit less yards, but he's come up big. Justin Watson also pretty good. I mean, just certain guys that are all able to play in big moments. And I'm looking at, their roster right now, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They have 9 different receivers with a touchdown this year. So, I mean, that's really good that you're able to, give Patty Mahomes those options. And so this will be a big game. I honestly think that the Chiefs will win this game just because it's an Arrowhead, and just because, I mean, this is a game that was circled on their calendar, circled on everybody's calendar coming into the season. But, I mean, this is going to be a great game, Super Bowl rematch. Everybody's going to be watching it. Monday Night Football, what are y'all's takes on this upcoming game?
I hope Taylor Swift dies.
Yeah, Taylor Swift will be in attendance, so scratch that. We might not be watching the game, but,
I'm not, because they're going to be showing her every 5 seconds. They're going to be showing her every 5 seconds, and I'm not watching the game because I'm sick and tired of Taylor Swift. Oh, she
Reese, we also have choir practice, so we can't watch the game.
Good.
Oh. Good.
I hope her plane loses altitude and descends.
Okay, Reese. we don't need to wish on people's death any more than we need to.
All right, I'm gonna do my take. I have to disagree with you, Max. The Eagles, great team, beating great teams too. Had that tough loss against the Jets as their one loss, but I mean, beat the Cowboys last week by inches. Beat the Commanders, beat the Dolphins, beat the Buccaneers, beat the Vikings too. The Vikings have actually come up huge in these past few weeks to become second place in their division and a wild card hopeful. But this Eagles team, I mean, they've just played better teams and they've proven why they deserve to have this big matchup on Monday Night Football. And why do they? I mean, they could easily win. The Chiefs, have beat, good teams as well, but just by not as big of a margin. Only beat the Dolphins by 7. Lost to the Broncos. Who loses to the Broncos?
Yeah, that is a
But
fair point.
also only beat the Jaguars 17-9. I just don't believe in this Chiefs offense this year, with the absence of Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes, has actually thrown a lot of interceptions compared to what we usually see. It'll be rocking an Arrowhead, but, A.J. Brown for the Eagles is going to come up huge. Probably going to have about 3 touchdowns and, 400 yards in the Chiefs' secondary. The Chiefs' front 7 is amazing, but when you get down to their secondary, their cornerback room is not the best. So give me these Eagles receivers having a field day and the Eagles winning by a game-winning field goal.
Like I said, this game's going to be absolutely electric. Either of these teams, this is a coin toss of a game. Last year's Super Bowl was a coin toss of a game. So I don't know who's going to come out on top. But one thing to watch in this game is Nakobe Dean is listed as questionable. The starting middle linebacker for the Eagles this year has been playing some great football so far. But he was diagnosed, this 4 days ago, he was diagnosed with a Lee Frank sprain and will likely be placed on injury reserve soon. So, coming in for him will be Nolan Smith, who's gotten some reps this year. Obviously, he was the game day guest picker, also a Georgia Bulldog. But no, we'll see. We'll see what happens in this game. Like I said, it's just a matchup that you cannot miss if you're a football fan, and I can't wait to watch it. But that's going to do it for main matchup. And now, Reese, hit us up with our newest segment, Top 10.
Who's first, who's last, and who's in between? This is Top 10.
Yep. This is our third week doing top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I think today we're going to do a little bit of college football, a little bit of Heisman, and a little bit of NBA all-time players, and maybe
I'll just correct you there just real quick. We're doing Heisman, then top 10 NBA players of all time, and then top 10 NBA teams right now. So
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. We're going to do those. So let's get it started with Heisman.
top 5. Also,
Top 5. We're doing top 5 Heisman. So my number 1, I think it should be everybody's number 1, Bo Nix.
This is the only reason I wanted to do this segment today.
I
Only
know, Taylor.
freaking
Trust
reason.
me, I know. Trust me.
He's playing too good to not be up there at number 1.
10
Too much
touchdowns in the
talent.
past 2 games. 10 total touchdowns.
Yes, he's playing great. Oregon, I still think has a shot. In my opinion, I think Oregon still has a shot at the college football playoff if Washington loses and if either Florida State or somebody else loses in the top 4. And then my next person, I'm still gonna have to go with Penix.
Bro.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm the way he's playing, I'm still gonna have to go with him at 2.
Yeah.
And then 3. Ooh, 3's gonna be a hard one, honestly.
It really shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
What? Oh, Daniels. Yeah, Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
There you go.
Jaden Daniels is my 3. My 4, honestly.
I feel like 4 isn't that hard either.
Yeah.
4, I'm gonna put McCarthy.
No.
Okay. Hey, it's his top 10. We'll discuss after, but
McCarthy, though, in my opinion, I think McCarthy's played really well, and I think he deserves to
Bro,
be
did
that
you
high.
see his stat line against Penn State?
That's against Penn State. What
Okay.
will he do? What will he do against Ohio State?
Nothing.
we'll see.
We'll
But
see in 2 weeks, buddy.
yeah.
He'll do worse.
No, he won't.
Okay, number 4.
I already did
Or number 5, sorry.
Number five. Lucky number five.
Bro.
Number five. Number five. I'm gonna have to keep it. Honestly, number five. Let's see. Trying to think of guys. I'm not putting Williams in the top five. He didn't even deserve to.
Good. Yes, he's not. He's not in.
Doesn't even deserve to be top 10 anymore.
I'm thinking. What do you think, Reese, for number 5?
I'm still thinking number five.
Man said he wrote his script.
Huh.
Reese, it should be a skill position.
Say someone!
Milrow.
Bro.
You can't make this up. This man just sold it so hard. Okay. All right. Let me get with my top 5. Obviously, Bo Nix at 1. Bo Nix at 1. You know, his stats just speak for themselves, and you know, Oregon still has a chance at the college football playoffs. I mean, you look how he did against USC. Now, obviously, USC not a great defense by any means, but 23 for 31, 412 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then he also had a rushing touchdown. Or actually, he didn't. He had 2 rushing touchdowns against Cal though the previous week.
Yeah, he did.
Then, yep. I mean, he's only had 1 interception in his last 5 games, only 2 this season. So, I mean, you know, stats speak for themselves. Bo Nix at 1. Number 2, I had Jaden Daniels instead over Penix, simply because Jaden Daniels, to me, is the best player in college football right now. Like you know, he's the best college football, most athletically gifted. It just sucks for him because his team around him isn't great, you know, at least on the defensive side of the ball. But, I mean, 30 touchdowns this year, most by any player in the country. I mean, that's just passing touchdowns. He has 4 interceptions. But, you know, he's having to do, you know, all the dirty work on offense. But, I mean, you just look at his stat line against Florida. I mean, I was watching him out there. Even against Bama before he got injured, he was just going crazy. I mean, 234 rush yards and 2 touchdowns against Florida on the ground. And then against Bama, 163 rush yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, you know, he's just been putting up insane numbers. And he's obviously probably not going to win it because they're not going to give it to him because his team's not in contention for anything. But, I mean, he's the best player in college football right now. Number 3, I got Michael Penix Jr., simply because he's on Washington. And, I mean, you look at Utah, I mean, that's a game that obviously they could have lost, but he did make the throws at the right times to help them win that game. I mean, you know, there were obviously, you know, some times where he had some missed throws, you know, and that's obviously counts against him. But in certain times when it was like 3rd and long or 4th and long or whatever, and they needed to convert, he would throw it to, you know, the human vacuum, Roma Dunze. So, I mean, you know, Michael Penix Jr. at 3. Number 4, I have a guy that Reese didn't mention, Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. has played lights out these last 3 games.
Bro, this man said Jalen Milrow over.
Marvin Harrison Jr. had 3 total touchdowns last game, all in the first quarter, and then he also has had a total of let me do the math. He's had a total of 7 touchdowns the last 3. So I mean, he has been lights out. And the thing about it is, I mean, obviously he's not, you know, he's at 1,000 receiving yards, but the way, you know, LSU receivers are playing this year, and, you know, certain other receivers, I mean, that's not even top 20, which is crazy. But it's just the reliability that he's had. I mean, you look at these last couple of games, mark out that Rutgers game. I mean, he's had four straight games with 100+ yards. I mean, against Penn State, he had 162, his best game of the year, and that was their biggest game so far this year. So he's just a clutch player, and really love Marvin Harrison Jr. He's number 4. Number 5, I have a guy that also Reese didn't mention, Blake Corum. Blake Corum has been lights out as a running back. I mean, obviously he hit a stretch there where he wasn't doing so great, except now that I look at it, he wasn't doing great from a yardage standpoint, but he has had a touchdown. Let me see here just to make sure. He has 18 touchdowns this year. He's had a touchdown in every single game this year. He had 2 against Penn State, 3 against Purdue, 1 against Michigan State, 2 against Indiana, and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, specifically this Penn State matchup, I mean, he was just dominant. I mean, like we said earlier, Michigan, they didn't have anything going offensively. They didn't even pass the ball once in the second half just because Blake Corum was doing so good. He also has Donovan Edwards beside him. So, I mean, the stuff that he's doing right now is just completely impressive. And there's going to be opportunity to keep showcasing his skill set when it comes to that Ohio State-Michigan game. And then if they win that Big Ten championship, and if they win that, playoffs. So, Blake Corum, I got him at number 5. Now, Taylor, who do you got as your top 5 Heisman candidate right now?
So me and Max agree on all of our top 4 in the same exact order. Bo Nix, the GOAT. Seeing him this Saturday. Love you, Bo. Sign my jersey. Number 2, Jayden Daniels, like Max said, second best player in college football under, of course, Bo Nix. But LSU, not contending for a lot. So, I mean, it's going to be hard to give it to him. Number 3, Michael Penix Jr. I don't want to talk about him. Number 4, Marvin Harrison Jr. Old reliable, like Max said, carrying this Ohio State team to the number 1 seed, or number 1 ranking, excuse me. Then number 5, I actually have a guy that both of y'all didn't say. I have the Florida State quarterback, Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis has been great all season. He's kind of let up since that LSU game. LSU game he played absolutely insane. But with his weapons around him and the way that this Florida State team is absolutely dominating the ACC and almost a lock for the playoff at this point, in my opinion, I think Jordan Travis is going to be hard to catch. I was thinking about putting Carson Beck, for Georgia. I don't know why Reese called him bad at the beginning of the podcast. And Georgia, similar, dominating the SEC, probably going to make the playoff if they can beat Alabama. But number 5 is Jordan Travis. Reese, give us your top 10 NBA rankings, even though none of us will be listening.
Top 10 NBA players of all time.
Yes.
NBA players of all time. I'm going with Michael Jordan, obviously at 1.
Yep.
That's an obvious choice. Honestly, I'm gonna have to put Kobe Bryant at 2.
Oh
What?
Yes.
What?
You're booted off of your what?
What?
No.
Bro just took the whole MJ LeBron James argument and just threw it out the window.
No, anybody would pick that. I've seen plenty of people pick that. They've picked Kobe Bryant over LeBron.
Kobe Bryant over LeBron James. Okay.
Kobe Bryant's not even in my top 10.
Okay, that's
There's
a
no
bit
way.
but no.
There's no way.
We'll let you cook. We'll let you cook. You might be burning the kitchen down, but we'll let you cook.
And then I'm gonna put LeBron at 3.
Okay.
And then
Jesus.
4, I'm honestly gonna put I'm gonna put Magic Johnson at 4.
Where's Kareem? All right, keep going. Keep cooking.
Kareem's at 5.
Okay, there you go.
And
Now
then
we're
6 is 6. I'm gonna have to go with Larry Bird.
Not horrible. I'm waiting for a name.
7, Steph Curry.
Bill Russell! No! He just died. Oh
No. Keep going.
Keep going.
then
Let
8
him cook.
8's Bill Russell.
Okay.
9 is I gotta think of a good one.
Think hard, Reese. Think hard. There's a name that you haven't said.
Don't tell him, Max. Don't tell him.
I know. I won't say because I feel like he's repeating just what I'm saying.
9's Wilt Chamberlain.
Thank you. Might have just saved him. Who's 10?
10. I gotta think. I'm thinking way back.
Yeah, think hard.
Not too far back, but maybe 80-ish, 90-ish.
Okay. Cook.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. I'm thinking way back. I'm not doing this generation.
Jesus, what? Who is it?
I'm thinking.
Okay, think. Think faster.
Write a script. So you don't have to think.
Bro. I'm just gonna go with honestly, y'all are probably gonna dog on me for this one, but I'm gonna go with Nicole Jokic.
Whoa! No way! No, Reese, you're high, bro. No, Reese, there's
Milroe,
something in your body that doesn't need to be in there. Oh my god.
Oh no. Taylor, you go. All right, I'm gonna try and compose myself and do my top 10. MJ 1, LeBron 2. Obviously, take a disabled person or not a dumb person to say otherwise. Yeah. Number 3, I got Kareem. I mean, overall, just stats speak for themselves. Bucks, Lakers, everywhere he went, he was good. 4 is Bill Russell. I mean, you look at all the championships that he won. I mean, I know he played in back when I don't even know. But number 5, I got Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, 100-point game, just dominance. Number 6, Magic Johnson. I mean, the Lakers. Just watch the show called Winning Time on HBO Max. You'll see why he's number 6. Just a great player. Number 7, Larry Bird. In my opinion, best 3-and-D player of all time. I mean, you could compare. You could say Curry to challenge. Yes. Number 8, I got Kobe Bryant. I mean, one of the most electric players of all time to play on the court. And then you see the championships. You see the 84-point game, last game of his career. I mean, just all around great player. Number 9, I got Tim Duncan, which is a guy that Reese didn't include. Spurs, he's best Spurs player of all time, easily. I mean, not single-handedly because he had Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, plus other, key, position players.
Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard. Well, did Kawhi ever play with Tim?
Yeah. He was on
Okay.
that finals team that Tim Duncan won.
Gotcha. So, yeah, but Duncan was the leader of that team, so he's at number 9. And then number 10, I have Shaq. Shaq also part of that team with Kobe and one of the most dominant big men of all time. I mean, stats speak for themselves. I mean, when he was on the Magic, he had literally no one else. I mean, he had some barbers that were playing.
Bro, he had Penny Hardaway.
He did have Penny. Now thinking about it, he did have Penny. But Shaq, number 10. I at least I didn't say Jokic. That's all I got to say. Now, Taylor, go with your top 10.
All right, number 1 and number 2, the same. I mean, honestly, I will say this. I mean, based on when, so I was born in 2006, so I didn't watch basketball until I was a little bit older, so I kind of missed prime LeBron, like early Cavs and the Heat days, and then early second tenure with Cavs. But based on where you grew up, I was telling Max this. I mean, you can interchange MJ and LeBron all you want. I just think MJ is overall slightly better, but I think LeBron, by the time he retires, will get there. So 1, MJ, 2, LeBron. 3, I have Bill Russell over Kareem, just because, I mean, you got to take championships into account here. Bill Russell with 11 of them. Yeah. But, again, Bill Russell and Kareem, you could interchange those two. With doing old players like this, I mean, we didn't get to see them personally. Not a lot of people got to see them personally because they're so old. They played against plumbers. But number 4, Kareem. Number 5, Wilt Chamberlain, absolute domination when he played. Number 6, Magic Johnson, great player. Made a little bit of bad decisions off of the court, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Magic Johnson, number 6. Number 7, I have Tim Duncan. I actually have Tim Duncan higher. Tim Duncan, one of the most dominant post players of all time. Great leadership. Even when he was, getting up there in age, he still led the Spurs to the championship. And Tim Duncan just, really great player. Number 8, I have Shaq. Also, another just dominant force, kind of like Wilt Chamberlain. Could just absolutely break the goal. Like, if you can break the backboard on your dunk, you're pretty powerful. You're a good player.
Yeah.
Number 9, I have Larry Bird, the greatest white NBA player of all time.
Yeah.
Larry Bird, absolute stud on and off the court. He had swagger. He had everything. Then number 10, I have someone that both of y'all didn't say. I have Dirk Nowitzki at number 10.
I thought
Led the Mavericks team to beat LeBron, D Wade, and Chris Bosh. I mean, that's pretty dang impressive. I know he had Jason Terry and Steve Nash with him, but Dirk, great post player. Him and Tim Duncan both interchangeably greatest post players of all time. And Dirk, the European legend, rounds out my top 10. Reese, take him away with your number 10 ranking of the NBA right now. Hey, listeners, a little button here. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. Reese had to go do something. So the end of the podcast is going to be me and Max. Max, give us your top 10 NBA teams right now, about 10 games or so into the season.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get my top 10 started. Obviously, we did it at the beginning of the season. We had our top 10 predictions. And I'm not going to lie, my predictions are, pretty good so far right now. I mean, going into the season, I had the Nuggets at number 1, and that's where they're going to stay. I have the Nuggets at number 1 this week. Obviously, they've started off the season. I mean, they've done good. They actually lost today, though, but they've looked like the best team in the league right now. I mean, the second best overall record behind the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, they returned all their starters, so, I mean, what else did we expect? And then second, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I had them at 7 coming into the season, so they've kind of impressed me, but I honestly think it's because of that move to get James Harden out of Philadelphia and how quickly they made that move. And honestly, I mean, it's obviously benefited them for the better. I mean, they're 8-1. They're undefeated since he's left the team, or he was traded to the Clippers. And, I mean, Tyrese Maxey dropped 50 today. So, I mean, what else do you want if you're a 76ers fan? And obviously Joel Embiid's going to be, he's going to be great. He's Joel Embiid. And Nicholas Batum, I want to shout him out. I mean, he's one of the few players that they got back. They mostly got picks back from that trade for Harden. But he's now starting at power forward for them. And he's honestly been playing pretty solid basketball so far throughout these couple of games. So Philadelphia at 2. Number 3, I have the Celtics, which is exactly where I had them coming into the season. I mean, they've just balled out. They're one of the deepest teams in the league right now. I mean, Drew Holiday fits in perfectly with their scheme. And, I mean, you look at the starting lineup. I mean, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis. And one of the best things, though, is they have no injuries for any of their starters as well as their bench players. So, I mean, they're one of the healthiest and one of the best teams in the NBA right now. Number 4, I have the it's not the Cleveland Cavaliers. I was reading a different list. I have the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks have been really good so far, 8-2 overall. Doncic and Irving, I'm not going to lie, I didn't think it would work that well coming into the season. I didn't even have them in my top 10, but Dillard's going to be proud of this one. Love you, Dillard. This one's for you. The Mavericks at 4. I mean, yeah, like I said, Irving, Doncic, I mean, match made in heaven so far this season. Mavericks at 4. Number 5, a very big shocker. I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, a.k.a. Michael Jordan's son, allegedly. I mean, this guy has been balling out this year. I mean, and, the Timberwolves have just benefited so much from it. I mean, you look at Edwards' stats so far this year, 27.9 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, and 5.3 assists, as well as 1.3 blocks per game. I mean, this guy's, taking the team on his back and carrying them throughout the season. And we'll see how they do moving forward. 6-2 right now. I got the Timberwolves at 5. Number 6, another shocker. Now, this could be just a surprising start, although I feel better about this pick considering they got a win today. I got the Houston Rockets at number 6. This is a very young team, so this is a very exciting time. They actually beat the Nuggets today, 107-104. So, a big game between those two teams, and I got the Houston Rockets at number 6. I mean, Jabari Smith Jr., obviously I'm an Auburn fan, so this is great to see. But Fred VanVleet, shout out to him. He's come in and played really well, as well as Dylan Brooks. Now, Dylan Brooks, I'm not going to lie, I'm not the biggest Dylan Brooks fan. I think his shenanigans are kind of cringe, just to be honest. Him staring down the Lakers before the game, but he's backed it up, and he's played really good ball, and they've actually won. They started out the season 0-3, but they won their last 6 games. So, I mean, they're not only the number 6 team right now, but they're the hottest team right now. Give me the Rockets at 6. And then number 7, I have the Golden State Warriors. Pretty close to my preseason prediction. I had them at 6. The Warriors so far, I mean, 6-4. They lost a game today, but I think the Warriors are just one of the best teams, this year. I mean, overall, just their entire team is deep. I think they lack a little bit. Actually, they didn't lose today. Excuse me. They're playing the Timberwolves right now, and as we speak, but they're about to lose. They're down 114-105 with 30 seconds to go. But I mean, this team. I mean, obviously, it's going to take some time to get it figured out. I mean, I think the Chris Paul thing, that thing's kind of still getting shored up a little bit. But you look at this team. I mean, when it's healthy, I mean, they have one of the deepest rosters. I mean, they have Jonathan Kuminga, who I think is one of the best young stars right now, one of the most underrated. Him coming off the bench has really benefited the Warriors. So give me the Warriors at 7. Number 8, I have another surprise team that I did not expect to be good at all this year, but they proved it with a couple of blowout wins. I got the Pacers at number 8 right now. The Indiana Pacers have been so good. I mean, their entire team is great. I mean, you got Tyrese Halliburton, great point guard. Benedict Mathurin, who was a guy that actually he was expected not to start. He was expected that Buddy Hield would be the starting shooting guard this year. Benedict Mathurin coming in as a second-year player and playing absolutely great basketball. And then Bruce Brown also, getting traded from the Nuggets, really great player. Obi Toppin starting at power forward. I mean, this is also a young team, like I said, with the Rockets. And so this is very promising that they're 3rd in the East right now and one of the best teams in the NBA. And then number 9, very disappointing so far, are the Milwaukee Bucks, because I had them at number 2 coming into the season. Obviously, they're 5-4 right now. Not what you'd expect from a Damian Lillard and Greek Freak combo, but I mean, they're still very good. And obviously, the promise is there. I mean, you look at those 2 players. I mean, how could you not expect a lot out of this team? But I mean, all their wins have been single-digit wins, and all their losses have been basically double-digit losses. So I mean, this team they haven't looked great, but they have the opportunity to be great. That's why I have them at number 9. And then number 10, I have the Miami Heat. I had them coming into the season at 8, so this is kind of similar to my prediction. But the Miami Heat, I mean, coming off of last year's run to the NBA championship, the NBA finals, they haven't lost a step. They've actually won 5 games in a row. So, I mean, one of the best teams right now, one of the hottest teams. And then you got, I mean, their team now, the Tyler Hero situation. Tyler Hero, obviously, with an injury. We'll see how long that sits him out for. Also, Kyle Lowry is day-to-day right now. Caleb Martin also out with injury. So this is a injury-plagued team as well, but they're still doing what they're doing, still doing it at a high level. So I got the Heat at number 10. Now, Taylor, hit me with your top 10.
I'm not going to lie. Ours are very similar, Looking at the standings, there's a lot of teams that are around that 6-4, 6-3 area, coming into 10 games in the season. But my top 10 is number 1, the Denver Nuggets. We heard Reese put Jokic in his top 10. I wouldn't go that far, but Jokic, best player in the NBA right now. I mean, single-handedly, just absolutely dominant. He's like Wilt Chamberlain back in the 50s. Give me the Nuggets at number 1. And then I got the Celtics over the 76ers. I got this. I know in the records, the 76ers are over the Celtics. I just believe in the Celtics roster more than the 76ers roster. Just more depth for the Celtics. The Celtics have just played really good teams, gotten heartbreaking losses so far. But number 3, I have the 76ers. Before this list, I was actually looking at an article, and it was like going on and on about how the James Harden trade, saved the 76ers season. I mean, you look at it, it's just a lot of these superstar duos just don't work out. You need a superstar and you need role players, and that's exactly what the 76ers got going on right now. And then number 4, who was not in my top 10 coming into the season, is the Dallas Mavericks. At number 4, of course, Luka Doncic playing absolutely amazing, absolutely balling out. Like you said, shout out Dillard, the Mavericks fan. I mean, this team is just super dangerous, so much depth. Tim Hardaway, Grant Williams, Derek Jones, Josh Green off the bench, Dwight Powell off the bench. I mean, even Seth Curry, like the 11th man. Just a great team overall. Dallas Mavericks making their way to that number 4 spot. Number 5, another team that I did not have in the top 10 is the Minnesota Timberwolves, like you said. Shout out Mr. Brad if you're listening to this. Big Timberwolves guy, big Minnesota fan. The Vikings, the Wild, the Timberwolves. But the Timberwolves, I mean, playing some great basketball right now in the Western Conference. Karl Anthony Towns, you mentioned Anthony Edwards, absolutely playing amazing. Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns also in the paint doing their job. Rudy Gobert with 13 rebounds a game and 2 blocks per game doing his job and leading the Timberwolves to the number 5 spot. Number 6, I actually have a team that you didn't say. I have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have, for how young of a team the Thunder are and how many draft picks they have coming up. I mean, this Thunder team is absolutely dangerous, not just this season, but for years to come. SGA, of course, playing amazing. SGA averaging 28.8 points per game, 6.4 assists and 2 steals. And then Jalen Williams, the forward, with 16.4 points, doing everything, filling up the stat line just like Draymond Green. And then Chet Holmgren, Rookie of the Year, with 7.8 rebounds and 2.3 blocks. After that heartbreaking injury last year in that scrimmage against LeBron, Chet Holmgren proving why he was a top 2 pick. And then 7, I have the Golden State Warriors, my personal team. I had them higher, and then, I saw that they were absolutely getting mollywopped by the Timberwolves, and I switched them in the Timberwolves, actually. The Warriors just, with that Chris Paul situation, it goes back to the superstars. I mean, it usually does not work, but like you said, the Warriors, so much depth on the bench. Gary Payton III, sorry, I'm stumbling on my words here. Moody, number 4, Moody coming off the bench. Great role players on that team. And then, of course, you got, I'm not going to say his nickname, Jonathan Kuminga coming off the bench as well. Great young player. Number 8, I have the Milwaukee Bucks, disappointing me with that Lillard and Giannis duo. Again, another case of 2 superstars trying to make it work, and it's just not working over there in Milwaukee. Something's got to change with the scheme, but they're still a really good team and probably going to do very good in the playoffs. And number 9, I agree with you with the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton absolutely balling out right now for the Pacers. No one expected this Pacers team to be good. Coming into the season, their power ranking was about 25. And they're 6-4 and first in their division, playing absolutely great ball. Just lost to the 76ers, unfortunately. But, excuse me. I'm actually going to say a name that you didn't say for the Pacers. Miles Turner with 17.6 points and 8.2 rebounds, doing his job in the paint. Miles Turner, great player. Had that rough start in his career, but really proven why he's a top player for the Pacers on a top team. And then the surprise team of the year, the Houston Rockets, playing absolutely amazing. Super young team, super bright future. I mean, not just bright future, bright season ahead of them. Jabari Smith Jr., leading the pack. I mean, really for the Rockets, you look at their team and it's like there's no absolute superstars, I would say. It's just role players doing what they do best with the scheme working. And I mean, Jalen Green and Alfred Sengun absolutely balling out for the Rockets. I mean, great roster overall. Dylan Brooks, like you said, Fred VanVleet, the whole team, the whole starting 5 is just sharing the ball, sharing the rock, and getting the job done. But that's my top 10. And now we're going to move to everyone's favorite segment. We're going to see the records that we had 2 weeks ago. And, I mean, let's just move to Prize Picks.
Not sponsored by the app Prize Picks, it's time for Max's Prize Picks.
All right, let's go ahead and get into it. I'll go ahead and tell you the standings coming into this week. Actually, that Prize Picks that we did 2 weeks ago, I mean, it really got me up there. I finished first in that week. I was 6-0. I was undefeated. And I'll go ahead and remind you all of the slate that week. It was Oregon at Utah. Oregon won. Jags at Steelers. Jags won. Browns at Seahawks. The Seahawks won. Bengals at the Niners. The Bengals got the upset on the road. Lakers at Nuggets. The Nuggets won. Then Suns at Warriors. The Suns came home victorious. So I went 6-0. Reese actually finished second with 4-2. With his two wrong ones being the Bengals 49ers, he picked the Niners, and then Suns Warriors, he picked the Warriors. And then Taylor, you're kind of off your game that week. You finished 3-3. You took a risk with the Browns at the Seahawks. And then you also got the 49ers Bengals wrong, as well as the Suns at Warriors. So the current overall standings, Taylor, I'm only a game behind you. Actually, technically two, because I need you to lose one and then I need to win one. But you're 44-34. I'm 43-35, and then Reese is 39-39, kind of behind the pack. But hey, we got a long season ahead. But like I said, these are going to just be some of the biggest games of the week. Honestly, I mean, if you like betting out there, I mean, take some of our advice on some of these games that we're going to be picking. But we're going to go ahead. I'm trying to switch it up. We're going to do college basketball. We have two big matchups on Tuesday for college basketball, and then we're going to do one huge matchup on Wednesday for NBA. Then the biggest matchup for college football next week, no doubt, for college football, and then two huge matchups in the AFC North for NFL. Let's go ahead and get started with college basketball, the State Farm Champions Classic. There's two games taking place on Tuesday night. Yes, there's two games taking place on Tuesday night, and the first one is number 2 Duke. As it stands, the AP poll right now, pretty sure the AP poll for college basketball comes out Monday night, and so this will probably change because Michigan State had one of the biggest upsets that we'll probably see all season. James Madison beating them in overtime in Michigan State's arena. But we got a neutral court here for the State Farm Championship Classic, and it's the number 2 Duke Blue Devils versus the number 4 Michigan State Spartans. Both these teams are actually 1-1. Duke with a tough loss at home, actually. That doesn't happen a lot in their home coliseum, but they lost to Arizona. Arizona, great
because
team.
Caleb Love owns them.
Yes, Caleb Love is a very good player. I mean, he was just misused at North Carolina, but now we'll get a chance to shine at Arizona. So, but both these teams are 1-1 overall. Duke is actually, they don't have lines for this game. That's very interesting because I'm looking at it right now on ESPN as we speak, and there's no lines for the game. So I guess we'll just pick it straight up who we think is going to win. Right now, the matchup predictor, according to ESPN Analytics, has Duke with a 61.9% chance to win this game. Some players to watch out for are Kyle Filipowski for the Duke Blue Devils. He's averaging 25 points per game and 7.5 rebounds per game. And then for Michigan State, it's all about their point guard, Tyson Walker, who is averaging 24.5 points per game, along with 55.4 field goal percentage shooting. So who do you got I'll actually say who I got between the Blue Devils and the Spartans first. I'm going to go with the Blue Devils to win this one here. Bounce back from the Arizona loss. This Michigan State team, I mean, obviously they got the pieces. I mean, coming into the season, they weren't ranked number 4 for no reason. I mean, Tyson Walker is a stud at point guard, definitely going to be playing in the league probably next year. But, I mean, I feel like this Duke team is just so good. Tyrese Proctor, Kyle Filipowski, the whole bunch. I feel like Duke's going to get this win. And I'm going to say the final score for this game is going to be very similar to that Duke-Arizona game. I'm going to say it's a little bit actually lower scoring than that game. I'm going to say Duke 71, Michigan State 64. Duke wins this one by 7.
I'm going to have to agree with you, Max. Michigan State with that James Madison loss, I mean, absolutely just a knife in the heart coming into this season so highly ranked. And Duke, Caleb Love absolutely owns Duke. I actually expected them to lose to Arizona, but Duke, just an overall more depth team. You can talk about Filipowski all you want, but how about Jared McCain, the TikTok star, the dancer online? You see him everywhere. Actually played really good for the Blue Devils. He leads the team in steals, defensive warrior. I'm going to have to go with the Blue Devils, Jeremy Roach, Jared McCain, Tyrese Proctor. I mean, this whole bunch, all of them highly recruited players, great center play, great, front court. I'm going to have to go with the Blue Devils here.
Yeah, I mean, Duke's probably going to win this one, but we'll see. Both these teams should have really promising seasons coming up ahead of them. And next, we're going to pick the game that's second in that night. It's set to have an 8:30 p.m. tip, but that could obviously be moved because they're going to be playing in the same venue on the same night for the State Farm Champions Classic. And this one's between the number 1 Kansas Jayhawks, who are 2-0 and have absolutely been put in the business on their last 2 opponents, scoring 99 points in their last 2 games, winning by 30-plus in both of those games, almost 40 in both of them. And then they're going up against this Kentucky team, a very young but very promising Kentucky team, number 16 overall. They're 2-0. They've got wins so far over Texas A&M, CC, and New Mexico State. They beat New Mexico State. I thought that might be a close game because New Mexico State has been a decent team when it comes to the court recently, but they won 86-46. I mean, Kentucky's known to drop an early one at home recently, but they did not there. And so this Kentucky team playing really good ball, but this Kansas team, I mean, my goodness, they are so good. I mean, you got Hunter Dickinson, obviously the All-American transfer from Michigan. You also got, Kevin McCullough, who played a little bit of ball at Texas Tech 2 years ago, transferred over here, played good last year, has gotten a bigger role this year. KJ Adams as well. And then one of my personal favorite players, DeJuan Harris Jr., who won't really load it up from the point standard, but he's one of the best assist leaders. He's averaging 7.5 assists per game, only 1 point per game, but he's one of those unselfish players. I mean, but this Kentucky team also really good. Antonio Reeves, DJ Wagner. I mean, one of the best recruiting classes this year. They always have one. I'm going to go with the Jayhawks, though, to win this one. Right now, as ESPN Analytics has it, Kansas with a 74.7% chance to win this game. I agree with it. I say the Jayhawks win this one. I do think it's really close, though. I think this one is actually a shootout. I'm going to say this one's high scoring, and I'm going to say Kansas wins this one 85-81 in a shootout between these two top teams.
All right, with Max coming back, I gotta try to flip the script a little bit. I'm gonna go with the Kentucky Wildcats. Kansas, number one team, absolutely insane roster, but this Kentucky team likes to play fast, and you'll see with this Kansas team, they love to give the ball to Hunter Dickinson down in the paint, love to play a slow ball lineup, but this Kentucky team loves to get out and will have too much speed for the Jayhawks. And Rob Dillingham, there's 5 different players on the Wildcat roster that have averaged more than 12 points. Overall, just great roster led by DJ Wagner with assists and Antonio Reeves in points. I'm just going to have to go the Wildcats here because I know they love to play fast. They love to get out on fast breaks, and the Kansas Jayhawks will lose to the Kentucky Wildcats in the State Farm Classic.
Wow. Hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I can't wait to watch that one. Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. Mark your calendars. And now we're going to move to NBA the next day, Wednesday night, ESPN, 6:30 p.m. I can't wait for this matchup. Both of these two teams in the top 5 of our top 10s. And it's the Celtics, who are 7-2 overall and 3-2 when playing away games. They're going on the road to the 76ers, who are 8-1 overall and 6-0 when playing at home. Right now, the line is, once again, there's no lines for this game. I'm looking on ESPN, so don't blame me. It's ESPN's fault. According to ESPN Analytics, though, it has the Celtics with a 55.9% chance to win this game. A notable injury coming into this game is Kelly Oubre Jr. Obviously, prayers out to him and his family as he suffered a fractured rib after being struck by a car on Saturday. But this 76ers team is still really good. DeAnthony Melton has come in for him and has played pretty solid. But I'm going to actually agree with ESPN on this one. This Celtics team is just so solid, and they don't have any injuries right now. Jason Tatum playing his best ball right now that we've seen. And, I mean, this Celtics team is going to get it done on the road here, I believe. I believe it would be a close game, though, and I believe this is going to be a must-watch. Right now it says tickets as low as $32. I would honestly, if I lived in Philadelphia, I would take it right now, go on to Vivid Seats, and buy me a seat to watch this great game. I'm going to say the Celtics, though, win it on the road. I'm going to say 111-103. They win it at Philadelphia in the Wells Fargo Center.
Yeah, I agree with you, not about your pick, but about this game being an absolute joy to watch. These two teams actually played a few games ago, and the 76ers won by 3 at home, and I think they do it again. I don't know about you, but I'm just a huge Joel Embiid fan. Second in the league in points per game under, of course, Luka Doncic. The 76ers team with so much depth. Love to play slow, compared to the star-studded, full roster of the Celtics. Yeah, Joel Embiid leading in almost every single stat. And then you got Tyrese Maxey off the bench at the point guard position, averaging 25 points per game. Kelly Oubre is the big loss for the 76ers team. He was actually averaging 20 points a game and 2 assists and 6 rebounds, or 5 rebounds and 1 assist, excuse me. So I just got to go to the 76ers. I just believe. I've been to Philadelphia. You know, the fans will show up. Every single team in Philadelphia is scary to go to as an opposing fan, and especially for the Celtics. So give me the 76ers winning this game, 105 to 101.
Ooh, close game. We both have it being a close game. It should be one Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. on ESPN. Like I said, mark your calendars, set your alarms for that game. And now we move to college football on Saturday on what I thought should have been college game day. But, they chose to go with James Madison, who obviously shout out James Madison. I mean, they're 10-0 right now. Obviously, they deserve to, be in a bowl game and, have a chance at their Sun Belt championship. Now, obviously, they have an ongoing thing with NCAA for that. But this game is huge for both of these teams, actually. It's number 5 Washington as it stands right now in the new AP poll. Number 5 Washington going to number 10 Oregon State. I mean, this Oregon State team, they're 8-2, but, you see who they lost to. They lost to Arizona, and they lost to Washington State. Arizona still has a very, very slim chance. This Oregon State team, now, I know it's a long shot, but just based off the facts on their next 2 games, they just have a straight shot to go to the Pac-12 championship if they win these next 2 games. They got Washington at home, and then they got to go to Oregon in Autzen Stadium. But that'll be a tough one. But if they somehow win it, I'm not saying they win by any means. I'm not saying they win it by any means, but if they did, they have a chance. So coming into this game, they have a lot to play for. They're going to be ready for this game. Currently, the line stands at Washington -1. So, this is really just a coin flip game. Over under 63.5, and the ESPN analytics give Washington a 52.5% edge in this game. But I'm going to go with the Beavers at home to beat this Washington Huskies team. We talked about it. They haven't had a game that wasn't within one score, wasn't outside of 10 points since the Cal game in week 4. So, I got Oregon State finally beating this Washington team whose luck just runs out. They win barely against Utah. USC, they win by 10, but, USC had a couple mistakes. Barely beat Stanford, barely beat Arizona State, and then obviously Oregon missed the kick to lose that game. So I say Oregon State wins this one at home. Obviously, they're going to be packed out. This is the biggest game for any Oregon State team in recent memory. And so give me Oregon State winning this one. I actually think it's going to be a low-scoring game, similar to that Washington-Arizona State team. I think Michael Penix will throw maybe 1 or 2 picks, and I think DJU will have the best game of his college career. So give me Oregon State winning this one 24-17 over Washington at home. And, yeah, go Beavers.
Hey, y'all all know, as an Oregon fan, I like that pick.
Yes,
even though I hate Oregon State with a passion, I hate Washington even more. Just absolutely not ruining, but just killing the hearts of every single Oregon fan around. But you will see with this Oregon State team, they love to pound the ball. They love running the ball. They love play action short passes to their tight end. Their tight end actually has 8 touchdowns on the season, more than any single one of their receivers or any single one of their running backs. DJU with 6 rushing touchdowns and 20 passing touchdowns, 12 touchdowns for the 2 running backs out of the backfield. This Oregon State team is too physical for this Washington team, and Washington, with one of the hardest schedules in college football, will slip up and lose to the Beavers in Corvallis, Oregon at Beaver Stadium. They will lose 28-24.
Yeah. Hey, that game is set for a 6:30 p.m. kickoff on Saturday on ABC. Be sure to get ready for that one. Should be a great one in Corvallis. And now we go to the NFL for 2 AFC North games that should both be really good. Obviously, the AFC North, one of the best stories in the NFL right now. All of these teams set to have a playoff spot if the season ended right now. But we're going to go and get started with Thursday night football in probably the best Thursday night football game all year since the Lions-Chiefs game, in my opinion. Bengals at the Ravens. The Bengals team, they're 5-4 overall and 2-2 when playing on the road. Lost a heartbreaker to the Texans. The Texans, a team that's really on fire recently, but right after the Bengals, just beat the Bills and just beat the 49ers. I mean, you thought that they'd come in and win that game, but ended up losing it. But they're going to look to bounce back against the Ravens in Baltimore. The Ravens also lost. They're now 7-3 after their tough loss to the Browns after they were up by 21 points. They let the Browns come back after a couple of turnovers. The Ravens are 7-3 overall and 3-2 when playing at home in Baltimore. According to ESPN Analytics, they give the Ravens a 65.6% edge in this game. And according to Vegas, the line for this game is Baltimore minus 3.5. Over-under is 45.5. And I'm not going to lie, I think that this Ravens team, they had a great run, those couple of weeks. I honestly, and I think you can agree with me on this. Coming into this season, didn't really believe in this Ravens team. I mean, Lamar Jackson had kind of been slipping the last couple of seasons. Has really worked his way back into that, possible MVP conversation recently. But I feel like this Bengals team, I feel like that Texans game was a game they could have won, the game they should have won. But I feel like Jamar Chase has 3 touchdowns in this game. Joe Burrow has a night. And I feel like this overall just better Bengals team wins on the road against the Ravens. Give me this one. I think this is actually going to be a shootout in this one in Baltimore Stadium. Give me the Bengals winning this one 31-27.
Good pick, Max. I do agree. This game, I mean, Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit had to go through torture when they watched the Panthers at the Bears. But I will say with the Bengals, Sam Hubbard and T. Higgins are both inactive for this game. I mean, I think they're questionable for this game, so we'll see about that. But I do agree with you. This Bengals team is just way better. Such high expectations coming into the season, and they had those few weeks where they just kept losing, could not find an answer on offense. And then they beat the 49ers, and they're on a roll right now. Give me the Bengals winning 31-24. Joe Burrow has himself a game with 3 passing touchdowns. Joe Mixon has his respective touchdown. This Ravens team just plays way too slow, and the speed of the Bengals and the pace that the Bengals play at will be too much for this big Ravens defense. But Kyle Hamilton on the Ravens, absolute dog. We'll have a huge game, but the Bengals come away with a win.
Good pick there, Taylor. Like I said, that game is going to be set to kick off at 7:15 p.m. on Thursday night on Prime Video. So be sure y'all download Prime right now. Get ready for what should be a great matchup on Thursday Night Football. And now, for the last pick of Prize Picks, we got another AFC North matchup. And this one is always a great one. Always just a dogfight, and it's going to be between the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 6-3 overall after that tough, gritty win over the Packers today when we're recording this on Sunday. And they're 2-1 when playing away games versus the Browns, who got possibly an even tougher and even grittier win over the Ravens on the road. They're 6-3 overall and 4-1 when playing at home. The Browns are currently favored by 57.4% according to ESPN Analytics. And to Vegas, they're favored minus 3.5 going into this game. And then the over-under is 38.5. This game is expected to be a dogfight according to Vegas. And I honestly don't disagree with them. And I'm going to go with the Browns winning at home here. I'm going to go with the Browns pleasing the fans. I mean, they showed that they have a lot of heart, that they don't quit, and that they want this season to be a good season. Deshaun Watson really came through late in that game against the Ravens. A game that going into it, not a lot of people thought they would pull out and get the victory. And then, after the second quarter going into halftime, nobody expected them to come back and win that game. They did. They came back and won that game. And so give me the Browns at home beating the Steelers. I feel like there might be 1 or 2 fights in this game. Obviously, both these teams a lot to play for, and obviously a lot of bad blood between these two rivals. So give me the Browns winning this one 27-16. And the Browns pull away late, and the Steelers have a couple of red zone appearances, but they end up in field goals. Possibly, Myles Garrett helmet swing in this matchup. But I'm going to go with the Browns winning this one 27-16 at home and beating the Steelers.
I have my uncle has family friends that live in Cleveland, and when Pittsburgh comes to town, the whole city of Cleveland, throws bottles at Steelers fans. I mean, it's a huge
Yeah.
rivalry. You see it every single year, but this Pittsburgh team is so fraudulent, Max.
Yeah.
Only scored 156 points on the season and have
Jeez.
allowed 182. I will say the Steelers' defense is very good, but Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, is the worst OC in the NFL. Kenny Pickett is not a good quarterback. I remember for Thursday Night Football when they played the Titans, me and you were at B-Dubs, and I said Kenny Pickett is the worst quarterback in the NFL, and I will stand by that until the day I die. The Browns will absolutely dominate the Steelers, 31-3. Deshaun Watson will have 3 touchdowns. Jerome Ford will dominate. Denzel Ward and Juan Thornhill will come back and lead the stellar Browns defense, who have only allowed 170 points all season. Give me the Browns taking another AFC North dub and moving into first place in the
Ooh.
AFC North.
Yeah, I know that's right. I'm also kind of mad at the Steelers. They only gave it to my boy Deontay Johnson after I just got him from you. They only gave it to him one time that entire game. Just disgraceful. But anyways, that's gonna do it for Prize Picks. And right before we go, we're gonna go and get some quick live reactions. First off, the Browns Steelers game is set for a 12 p.m. kickoff on CBS. Be sure y'all tune in to CBS to watch that dogfight in Cleveland. But some quick live reactions before we go. The Jets losing on the road to the Raiders Sunday Night Football. The Jets getting another primetime game because early on, before the NFL season, before they made their schedule, they expected Aaron Rodgers to play. So they scheduled a lot of primetime games. This Jets team is, not who they were expected to be with Aaron Rodgers. They have Zach Wilson at quarterback. Zach Wilson, 263 pass yards, 1 interception. Aiden O'Connell has come in and hasn't played terrible, hasn't messed it up. Hasn't done what Jimmy Garoppolo's done and thrown for 43 total yards in the game. Has passed it to Devontae Adams. Adams with 86 yards this game. And also Josh Jacobs proving why he was the rushing yards leader last year, 116 yards on the ground. The Raiders moved to 5-5 overall, and the Jets moved to 4-5 overall. The Raiders with a big matchup next week now at the Dolphins. That's going to be a tough one on the road, while the Jets have to go and face the Buffalo Bills. They have to go to Buffalo, so that's going to be a tough one. What is your take on this game? The Raiders moving to 5-5 and the Jets moving to 4-5.
I mean, props to the Raiders. Firing your head coach and offensive coordinator, not an easy task to win, but they beat a very decent Jets team that actually beat the Eagles. And now Antonio Pierce, the former NFL football player, is now 2-0 with the Raiders in this defensive battle. Max, I know the Raiders are not that good, but this Raiders defense is easily top 5 in the NFL. This Raiders
100%.
defense is absolutely insane, led by Max Crosby, who had a huge game today. And yes, Josh Jacobs finally proved why he's getting paid all that money.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about having a big game today. I mean, Max Crosby today, trying to find his stats right now, actually. He had 3 tackles today and had a sack, had also a couple QB hurries. So, I mean, Max Crosby, once again, playing lights out. And then the Jets. Are the Jets done? Are they done?
Are the Jets done? Aaron Rodgers rumored to come back by the end of the season, about week 16, I thought, week 16, week 17. But it doesn't matter because the Jets have no playoff hopes at this point. I mean, 4-5 season, very tough schedule coming up at the Bills, against the Dolphins, against the Texans, at the Dolphins, at the Browns. The Jets season is over. Sorry, Robert Saleh, you're a really good coach. You just had unfortunate circumstances, and with Zach Wilson at starting QB, and as we see Devontae Adams on the live stream absolutely dancing because he finally caught a ball. I mean, this Jets team, I mean, the hope is out the window. Hope in their division as well, it's just over.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't notice that schedule was that brutal. I mean, if I were odds maker, I don't even see them winning one of those games just based on pure paper stats. But then as for the Raiders, 5-5, second actually now in their division behind the Chiefs. Do they have a path to the playoffs? I mean, very tough schedule coming up ahead. They got at the Dolphins next weekend. Then they got at home against the Chiefs. They get a bye week after that, and then they get at home against the Vikings, at home against the Chargers. Both winnable games, in my opinion. And then they have to go back to Arrowhead to play the Chiefs. Then to the Colts, and then at home against the Broncos. Both also, to me, winnable games. Do they have a path to the playoffs, possibly a wild card spot?
I mean, the Raiders with a very, very tough road to the playoffs, very tough schedule, tied actually just outside the playoffs. If they can win the right games if they can beat the Chiefs one of the two times, I do see this Raiders team maybe sneaking into the playoffs. It might be the same case as last year, where it might come down to the last game on Sunday Night Football the day before the playoffs. Or excuse me, a week before the playoffs. But with this schedule, it's a long shot, but they could easily do it, led by Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, what a story that would be, bringing in the rookie QB to start, and then obviously bringing in Coach Pierce to be the interim head coach, and then if he's able to pull that off, get them to the playoffs, I mean, he could possibly change that from interim head coach to full-time head coach. But that's going to do it for Tigers Den episode 10. We hope y'all enjoyed this episode. We hope to see y'all next week. We hope to see y'all listening. But be sure, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, be sure you rate us 5 stars. If you're listening to us on the YouTube video, be sure to leave a like, comment down below any sports takes, any sports discussions, any sports in general that you want us to talk about in the future. But that's going to do it from the Tigers Den.
Hey, Max, before we go, I want to say, if you want to reach out to us in our fan mail, I mean, I think it would be cool if we had some special guests every now and then. If we had a fan that wanted to be on the show, join for the prize picks, pick with us, give us their takes. I mean, that would be pretty awesome.
Absolute great idea. I love that idea from you, Taylor. So our fan mail, I mean, I think it works. I'm just going to be 100% honest with y'all. I mean, me and my head CTSO, our head CTSO, Dillard, have been working through it. But right now, I think it's ahsmassmedia@auburnschools.com, or if you know one of us at school, because I know this is a school organization-run podcast, I mean, just talk to us and say, hey, I want to be on the show, and we could get you on as a special guest for the prize pick segment. But once again, that's going to do it for the Tigers Den. And with that, we're saying see ya.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to this week's edition of the Tigers Den podcast. New episodes dropping every Monday at 3:30 p.m. Central. Also, be sure to check out our other podcast, Play Callers, where we interview a coach from Auburn High School football. Be sure to check out those episodes dropping every Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Central on all platforms.